Hello, everybody. Welcome to Crypto Coin Mindset. I hope you're doing well today. I am Keith, and as always, I'm here to help you get your mindset on crypto. Welcome. I am joined today by Crypto Jar. Let me get him up here so he can say hey. Hang on one second. Let's try and get it. There we go. Welcome, my friend. How you doing today?
Not too bad. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thank you. I'm glad to see you here. Honestly, I running around at the last minute, as you probably saw. I that's why I'm a little bit late today, everybody. I had to go get another cup of coffee. I'm sorry. I just had to.
Two. I'm switching to water right now.
Yeah, I was gonna do that, and I'm like, no. I need another sip of Java.
I get all jittery if I have too much coffee.
I understand. So what's new and exciting with you today, my friend?
Not a lot. Just editing. Gonna get some new posts out later today. Just new projects that I'm jumping into. New wallets, which is nice. Hardware wallets.
Yeah.
I know you're big into wallets. So have you heard of Keystone?
Yes.
So
I haven't purchased one to try it, but tell us about it, because I'm all about the wallets.
I just actually received it. It's Keystone 3 Pro.
Yeah.
It's a hardware wallet. I have the older version, which works with Solana and a whole few other blockchains. I'm pretty sure this has more extensive use. Haven't tried it out too much. The Tangem wallet that you were talking about, that seems very exciting because of the NFC taps with your phone and its uses. It looks like it's a lot more functional. And the fact that they're giving multiples of the card, I like that concept. So you can keep one at home stored away as a backup, and then you can keep one in your wallet when you're this is if you're going to be using it every day or regularly. I think it's smart. It's a good way to do it.
Yep. And yeah, the idea that your cards are your backup, it makes it super easy, because I mean, it literally took me minutes to set it up, including the backup. That's key. You go to backup with a seed phrase, and heaven forbid you make a mistake, never mind anything else.
Yeah. So I do have most of my crypto in hardware wallets right now, at least the stuff that I'm holding for long. But what I'm trying to do now is split up the crypto into multiple hardware wallets. It's a bit of paranoia, but I think I should.
I mean, that makes good sense, right?
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, it's like the old saying, don't have all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah. There seems to be a lot more overreach right now. At least I keep hearing stories of overreach and hidden lines in code. So I'm going to start dividing my crypto up and putting it in separate hardware wallets, because I don't really know what's in the hardware wallet. I'm not smart enough to look through the code of a hardware wallet to find out what's in there.
I get it. You're not a coder, or neither am I. I understand, rely on these people in the crypto space that are coders to come out and tell everybody about those things.
Yeah, and there's a lot of genuine people out there that are looking for malicious stuff and posting it freely, and I love those people. I try to support them whenever possible, because for people like me who's new into the industry and just trying to get comfortable with it, there's just too much. It's overwhelming, right? Especially and then you have to look at code on top of it.
Right.
I have a little bit of coding background, but it's been 15, 20 years since I looked at code, so it's been a while.
Well, there you go. Why am I? Sorry, I'm trying to get stuff prepped in the background, and it's not agreeing with the system right now.
Oh yeah, no worries. A lot of things happening though, right? With CBDCs and everything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I know you're in Canada, so I wasn't going to be surprised if you were like, maybe I'll just let you take this one. But
okay, so. Everything related to CBDCs is interesting to me, just because we usually follow what the US does. You'll launch something, and then it's like Canada is just going to wait and see what happens over there. Okay, It's good to go. We'll add it in. And they're looking for policy changes as well. I think they're trying it. It's just very slow on our side. But you can see that globally, a lot of governments are definitely interested in it. There's positives and negatives to it, obviously. But the fact that they're looking at it is a good thing in my perspective. And I'm very curious to see what the US is going to do, because their dollar is global. Their dollar is the number one dollar out there. So if they pair that with a CBDC or something like it, I'm really interested to see what happens.
And you're not wrong. It's I'm just sharing my screen real quick on an article I did basically explaining CBDCs, because we're talking about this, and you and I understand CBDCs and what they are, but maybe the average person who would be tuning into this live stream does not. And there's links to all of this down in the video description on my channel. So by all means, feel free to head over there and check this out. But in a nutshell, a CBDC is a central bank digital currency. So it's a digital dollar, in the case we're talking about the US dollar here, that is in digital form only. It is a centralized ledger system still, because it is, again, issued by the Fed, or will be issued by the Fed, much like Fed Now in this case. And I think it's kind of funny, as I was prepping for this, you see, and I didn't get a chance to pull the information up yet, but recently, I think it was yesterday, Citibank announced, or a couple of days ago, Citibank announced that they were going to digitize people's money in order to move it at the speed of light. Well, that's them plugging into the CBDC Fed Now system.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
So, and I mean, the Fed's been trying to onboard people and banks and help me, the money transmitters in order to, bolster the Fed Now system. But the more people that are using it, the more real it becomes. You know what I mean? So, for those who are, I don't know, I would like you to expand a little bit. You said that to you, it's not a bad thing.
Okay,
And
so let me
by
talk about that. Okay, so what I mean by that is there is multiple versions of a CBDC that can be deployed.
Yes.
And I think it's one of the presidential candidates. I think it's Robert Kennedy Jr.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure he's the candidate that I'm speaking about, was actually talking about, okay, we can deploy a currency that's US backed, but it's backed by Bitcoin. And that was one of his comments, like how the US dollar used to be backed by gold. If we have digital currency that's backed by Bitcoin, that completely changes the game. So introducing the idea, but then changing the concept so it's adaptable by everybody. It's the oversight and the overreach that everyone's uncomfortable with. And I can totally see that. And they keep using China as a use case scenario about how people get shut off. And if your social credit isn't, your social credit score doesn't meet their requirements, they can just kill you off. Virtually kill you off.
Yeah, right.
Not literally kill you off, but they can shut down your accounts.
Well, they might, but we're not going to go down that road here.
Well, basically, they can do whatever they want until you comply with whatever rules.
Whatever it is that they're looking for. Yeah, sure. Exactly.
So if you take that concept minus all the negative stuff, but then use a Bitcoin or something like it to back it up, where everything is on a chain, it's open to the public, but the overreach isn't there. That would be cool. Like, that would be interesting to see itself. And that's what I mean by there is some positive paths that you can take with this.
Potentially, I don't completely disagree. I just think that that kind of power just will corrupt people. I just do. Yeah. That's, I mean, we've seen it.
Yeah, and that's why it can't be like the control. Yeah. I know. I get exactly what you're saying.
And honestly, that war, I mean, again, I don't know, maybe I'm just paranoid, but that's the kind of thing that worries me more than anything else, So, and it's funny because the two pieces of legislation that I wanted to just kind of go over, that's currently going through the House Financial Services Committee, neither one of them completely eliminates the possibility of a CBDC, because if it did, there would literally be no way that would get through Congress. There's just, that's not going to make it through, because again, people, I don't know, again, lost a lot of faith in elected officials here at this point, because there's just too much corruption in there. And I think that bleeds over into this, where they, why would they want to lose that control? That's, again, this is completely my opinion. I know we're discussing this here, and but that's my opinion,
So absolutely. Yeah, so maybe not CBDC, but something like it would be
But
interesting. It always
right,
comes down to who's in control, right? As soon as you have somebody that's in control, then yeah, that's
you
where
you run
everyone
the
starts
muck
losing
because
there.
again, it's completely programmable, right?
Yeah,
One minute it may not be, it's programmed where anybody can use it, and then the next minute, oh well, I don't think you're going to use it. I don't know. Like I
there
said, maybe I'm just too skeptical.
there was a very interesting concept about. I saw this thread somewhere on Twitter. It was you take the digital dollar, but it has voting rights attached to it. So if you're going to fund something like Ukraine or something like that, a large percentage of the population can actually jump in and vote yay or nay. It's not just left to the Senate or the House, which is pretty
Interesting.
cool because if you get the mass population to decide what happens with their money, that gives the people the control of the dollar, right?
Yep.
I can never ever actually see that happening just because of nobody in power will let that happen.
Well,
But the
exactly.
concept itself is very, very interesting.
That's interesting. I hadn't heard about that, so I like the concept. The concept is a good concept because, again, that's the whole reason why Congress is supposed to control the purse strings.
Yeah.
Because they are supposed to represent our interests. Interesting that we, in theory, could represent our own interests without the need for Congress. I like that idea.
Yeah. So they would use requirements like you're a U.S. citizen, you validate all your information, and then you
Right.
go ahead and vote. I guess it's sort of like a DAO. But yeah, like it's integrated in some way to have some say in how funds are being spent, especially in your local community, right? When you want to do upgrades and stuff like that into the city, they can cast it out to their community, and then everyone votes on whether it actually happens or not. And the majority wins, which is the way things are usually supposed to work, right?
Right. No, like I said, I hadn't heard about that, but I like the
If
concept.
I
It's
find the
worth.
thread, I'll post it. Yeah, it's
Yeah, please. Well, please. I'd appreciate that. Thank you so much. But this is the article that I was pulling from to the research on these two bills here. So just to kind of, uh, go through here, there are basically two bills going through Congress right now that relate to CBDCs. They're in what's called the markup stage. So this is basically where lawmakers discuss the details of it. So like the dot the I's, cross the T's kind of thing when it comes to what's going to be in the bill before it makes it out to the floor of the House for a vote and discussion. So just I'll go through these real quick, and then maybe we can just discuss a little bit. The first one is the Digital Dollar Pilot Prevention Act, and basically, this was introduced back in May by Alex Mooney, Representative Mooney, that basically said the Fed, it was trying to restrict the Fed from launching pilot programs to test a CBDC without the approval of Congress. And frankly, to me, like, well, okay, again, like I mentioned earlier, Congress is supposed to be controlling the purse strings. So heaven forbid that makes sense to me. Congress should have a say in a CBDC. And the article highlights that, well, despite that, and the Fed saying, yeah, we're not working on CBDCs, regardless of Fed now don't ignore the guy behind the curtain. They are still recruiting experts, as it says here, to put together CBDC pilot projects. And they've already done some of this testing. I've reported on it, CryptoCoinMindSet.com. You can check that out. And then the second thing right here is an amendment, actually, to the Federal Reserve Act. The amendment would prohibit the Federal Reserve Bank from offering specific product services directly to individuals. So this would be their way of limiting the Fed being able to send out a retail CBDC to you and I, and forcing us to be using that instead of the US dollar.
Okay.
So those are the two pieces of legislation working their way through, like I said, the Financial Services Committee at this point.
Okay. That's interesting. So how likely do you think this is to be deployed?
Well, I think they're going to make it out of the committee. I think they'll make it to the House floor, but once it gets there, I don't know. We've had so many different here in the United States. We've had so many different bills introduced to Congress that relate to cryptocurrency. I realize this is more a CBDC scenario, so it's meant to target the Fed in this particular case, but it's kind of almost an all-encompassing umbrella when it comes to that kind of legislation, in my opinion. And most of this legislation has been dead on arrival before it even makes it out of the House, and that is concerning to me. But I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing to some degree happens here with regard to the CBDC legislation, because there are a lot of interested parties that don't want to see restrictions on a CBDC.
Right. Yeah.
My opinion. Now, do you have you seen a lot of crypto related legislation in Canada? Have you seen a lot of that?
There's some, but it's mostly talk. Like, there's not really bills that are coming out, and not that I'm aware of anyways. It seems like right now everything's information gathering, and they're testing out proofs of concepts. And I think that's really why they're watching the US,
Sure.
China, and a lot of other countries that are pro crypto. I think Great Britain's also doing quite a bit as well. And just trying to see how the waters are being tested before they do anything further. But I haven't seen too many bills. I know they've talked about it, but I don't recall any bills being passed or being implemented in any way.
Sure. Okay. I just figured I would ask. I mean, let's put it this way. I am a proponent of restricting a CBDC as much as possible, because at the end of the day, I think it leaves too much to a single person or entity to be able to adversely affect a large number of people.
Yeah.
Again, that's a my opinion thing, but so I'm hopeful that some useful form of these bills actually do make it through Congress. I am hopeful.
Yeah.
But more of a I'll believe it when I see it kind of thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, it seems like again, in my opinion, a lot of this stuff will actually get momentum when the market picks up. So possibly 2024. Like, when there's a lot of money being thrown at it again, it gets a lot of attention, and that's usually when bills get passed or pushed. So yeah, I think a lot of this stuff is mostly talk right now. I'm expecting actual things to happen next year, especially if these Bitcoin ETFs. I don't know. I think I've seen like now 15 different companies applying for an ETF.
I think you're correct. Yes.
It's quite a few. So, I mean, all the big guys are jumping on board. That's going to light a fire under the government to start moving on some regulation and CBDCs or whatever they're planning on doing.
Well, it's kind of funny you bring that up. I was going to kind of maybe just highlight it toward the end, but I was, again, looking for the post and I couldn't find it before I went live here today. But I remember reading about basically Gary Gensler coming out and saying, hey, there's more, legislation, help me, more like suits coming against exchanges and all this other stuff. Like, why?
He's got, I don't know what his problem is. It's just like he's targeting people and just trying whatever it takes.
Exactly.
He's just annoyed all right
against the wall at this point.
Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't given up, but yeah, there's a lot of things that he's trying. And you know what? Good for companies like Coinbase, LBRY, and everyone who's just trying to get their case heard, hear their side of the story, show how it's for the public and everything else, and state a case. Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about it. I'm sorry. Since the win in the LBRY case, and I'll say win because I know it's under appeal and everything, but he got that judgment for the SEC. They've literally lost everything else they've basically had that's come up for judgment by the courts. And even up to yesterday, where they were still trying to get access to Binance's servers to prove Binance is like, laundering money and all this other stuff. And the judge already, no, get out of here. You need more information. You can't just want access to their servers.
Yeah. It's starting to get tiring, right? Like, how much are you going to try the same things over and over again? Like, just
Exactly.
move on. Let's try to figure something. If you're going to try something, try a completely new angle, right?
Yeah, like
Let's stop
actually putting
mixing
out
in.
some actual guidelines, right? Heaven forbid. I know that's like pulling a rabbit out of the proverbial hat there.
Yeah.
But it's just funny. That was something I was going to go to later, but I'm glad you brought it up, because it's like, I don't know. I think it kind of all plays to where we actually do need this type of legislation. Now, again, I know we're talking about legislation for CBDC, but I mean, we do need this, some kind of clarity, some kind of legislation, and that way it's just, okay, here's the guidelines, run, go.
Yeah, and until a lot of that stuff is set, you won't see the corporate world jump in right away, right? They're really just waiting for the government's okay before they can do it. No one wants to get burnt. The IRS, we don't want the IRS coming after anybody. The SEC,
Right.
Everyone's trying to play it safe. At least publicly, they're trying to play it safe. So
Yes, I agree. Now I know you're on a little bit of a time crunch. How you doing on time? We still got a little
I got
bit.
like another 10, 15, and then
Okay, good, excellent. Then we'll kind of move right along here. And while I'm thinking of it really quick, if you're new to either of our channels, make sure you hit that subscribe button, tick the bell. We appreciate a thumbs up. Thank you very much. And you got questions, you got comments, throw them in the live chat. We'll pop them up here, and we'll get to them. All right, so let's jump over real quick to the whole LBRY thing. I'm going to bring that up right now. All right, here we go. So this is, I don't know if you're familiar. Do you follow Crypto Law on Twitter or on YouTube?
Yes.
Great, isn't he?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Detailed. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. He's like, he takes what can be a complicated subject and basically breaks it down, again, for the average Joe, easy to understand. I mean, it's like anything else, you're in the medical field, there's certain medical terms, this, that, or the other thing that's otherwise, not commonly known to the average person. The same thing for law. And he takes that and breaks it down very well. Very well.
It's such a complicated subject, right? Finance and then crypto and then the law, just combining those three things together. It's very difficult for a lot of people to understand, including myself.
Yeah, and exactly. I mean, I've got a little bit of that background, but it's not, I mean, even sometimes it's like, just easily over the head. So to listen to him break it down, it's like, oh, okay, now I get it. It's it gives you that extra little point and in the perspective. And there's a link to his channel, his YouTube channel, in the description. So make sure, if you're not following him, you go ahead over there and follow him. Now, he was one of the ones involved with the XRP case, and he also was the one representing Naomi Brockwell with regard to some of the privacy lawsuits that she had going on. Another one, the link to her channel in the description below as well. If you're interested in online privacy, I mean, you got to follow her. What do you follow Naomi at all?
No, I don't. I've seen her tweets. I don't follow her directly, but yeah, like there's a lot of information constantly coming out, keeping people up to date. It's a great way.
Yeah, and again, she's another one that takes a complicated, privacy thing. Like, I watched a recent, somewhat recent, probably a couple of months ago now, video she did basically breaking down how to protect your actual router, and how it's easy to find out what you're doing if your router is not secure.
Right.
And you think, okay, how can that be? The way it connects to the internet, there's so many things going on, but
it's the main hub of the house, right? And
all the communication
goes in there. If you exploit a router, you exploit the network. Absolutely.
It was crazy. I was just like, I guess in my head, I didn't think about it that way. I just didn't think about it the way she presented it. But anyway, getting off topic here. So the John Deaton is the gentleman's name that is part of Crypto Law. You can see his tweet here. This is when he was talking about with Naomi Brockwell. But basically what he's done is he's filed an amicus curiae, which, as you can see here, translates to friend of the court. So basically, it allows him to provide information to the court that will aid the court in making a proper decision without actually being involved in the case itself. And you know what? I think that's great because he's been involved in a lot of the legislation that we've seen recently. A lot of the court action we've seen recently. Again, with regard to XRP, with regard to Naomi Brockwell. So bringing that to this case, the appeal case with LBRY, I think is huge.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. It makes a big deal and also brings a lot of clarity to it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I think it's it can, bottom line is I think it can only help. And again, I talked about it last week that, I don't remember if you were with me for that particular live stream, but I was so glad to see that LBRY is like finally deciding to, do the appeal. I think they need to capitalize on the momentum that's in the space right now.
They're watching the Ripple case very closely and then making moves alongside. I mean, if you get more of these guys lined up together, they have a powerful case together combined.
Yes.
Right. It just strengthens community altogether. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. And that's you hit the nail on the head. We need to see more of that from all the crypto businesses, platforms, whatever, that the SEC is sitting here again, throwing against the wall and hoping that,
I think a lot of them are sitting on the sidelines, mostly because of funding. These are very expensive, lengthy cases.
Yes.
And if you're not well funded, you're going to just lose. You're going to burn a lot of the community's money at the same time, right?
Yes.
I believe a lot of these cryptos are just picking and choosing when it's best for them. But a lot of people are backing Ripple and LBRY. They're just coming forward. It's nice to see.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, that's what happened with LBRY. That was they basically was like, okay, well, we've exhausted our war chest here, and they were supposed to just shrivel up and go away. Which
I think is part of the SEC strategy, right? Just keep throwing something at them. So they have to argue it and just drain their war chest, and then they're done. They just have to give up because they're not funded anymore.
Right.
So
they have no other means.
Drag it on as long as possible.
Yep. And we've seen it. I mean, even with places like, exchanges like Kraken and stuff like that, and which kind of, you want the truth, that one kind of surprised me. I expected that they would put up more of a fight than I don't even think they put up a fight. It was just like, okay.
I don't think so. I think that was pre-negotiated and that was done before it even came out. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You're correct. It was like it came out in the news and it was already over. Yeah. It was just done. And that's too bad because, well, I mean, I've said it from the beginning. I mean, I get it. Coinbase is like the biggest US exchange, Gemini right behind them. And then you kind of come into Kraken at that point. But Kraken, I think, has such a lot more to offer come the future because, again, they've already got a banking license in that state.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, they can't get a damn master account because of all the crap that's going on, which I kind of thought, let's bring this back to John Deaton. He did a yesterday with Kathy Wood, who is the CEO of Custodia Bank.
Okay.
You're familiar with Custodia Bank?
That's ARK Investments as well. Kathy Wood.
Well, did I say Kathy Wood? Maybe I got the wrong name. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
But whoever I should have had that right in front of me. I apologize. But anyway, the head of Custodia Bank, and they're looking to be a 100%. There's no fractional reserve. It's 100% banking, backed banking, and so they're trying to get a master account with the Fed so they can do everything that they should be able to do as a bank, but because they're not doing the traditional fractional reserve banking like every other bank does, they fall under a different section, which the language of that section of the law says you shall issue this to them because this is what they are. They have literally been denied, but yet everyone else is approved. Like every other one that put in an application, again, that doesn't even
Makes sense.
just a separate money transmitter approved. So that's where this fight is going on with that, and it's been going on for a little while here at this point.
Wow. Okay. No, this is completely new. I haven't heard about this one.
Well, maybe we'll make that another one. His video is very good. Matter of fact, if I remember after we're done, I'll put a link in the description as well, so you can go to his channel. But if you go to his YouTube channel, I think it's literally his most recent. Actually, I think it might have even been a live stream. If I remember now,
I'm gonna check it out.
It might have been a live stream that he just did. So check that out, and you'll be able to see that, folks. But yeah, that's the kind of thing I expected, I guess, from Kraken. You know, is to say, okay, let's take a page out of the Custodia Bank playbook here, and let's fight because of this. And yet here we are.
Yeah. Well, and then the assumption is something else is going on behind the scenes, right? So,
right. We don't know that, but we do.
We don't know that, but you can assume that because it just clearly went in and out.
Right. It's a logical assumption. Absolutely. Logical assumption. Yeah, absolutely. I know we're running low on time, but I wanted to say that I saw your latest video where you put that orange pie together. We're showing that. Could you just talk about that real quick? I'd love to have everybody hear more about it.
This may not be profitable at all. This is just a fun experiment. Vericoin, I wouldn't say it's new. It's been out for a little bit, but they're allowing CPU miners, GPU miners, mostly phones. A lot of people are using phones to jump onto this cryptocurrency and mine it. And so what I did is I found out that one of the ways to do this is using an Orange Pi device. So I made a video explaining how to do it with the phone because that's the way everyone else is doing it. But I just released one on how to use the Orange Pi device to configure it, set it up, and get it mining. And so far, it's pretty successful. It's averaging about 8 mega hashes per second, which is pretty good. It's higher than most phones. And it's an experiment right now. I'm going to run it for about a week and compare the profitability between a phone and an Orange Pi. The phone is very interesting because if you have an extra phone laying around, then whatever you're doing is just banking it. You're just holding it and letting it run. And the Orange Pi is a pretty low cost device. It's about $100, 150 in Canada. And then you can just mine it, let it sit and forget. It only uses 8 watts. You can literally solar power the device, which I might do later on. You can just let it sit there. I think Varus is going to do something good in the bull run. So I'm just going to mine and hold.
Yeah, sure. Why not? At this point, what do you got to lose? And that was one of the things that I thought was very interesting is you mentioned how low power it was. That's great.
Yeah, you can run this device almost off of anything. Like you could just plug it into any adapter on your computer, and that thing is just going to run. I'm going to try picking up one of those mini solar panels as an experiment and just see if that works. And I could just leave it in the window and let it run overnight or everything else.
That's great. I'm interested in watching that. So make sure. Yeah. I did, just so you're aware, I did add that video as I do a lot of your videos because I think they're so good for the average person looking to make some passive income in crypto. I put it in my playlist about mining, and I put it in my playlist about passive income. So thank you for putting that information out. I think it's a plus.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Oh,
also, thanks for having me. I do have to go. I appreciate just joining in and talking about some of this stuff. Very useful information. And hopefully we can do this again next week. Go a little bit deeper into the law of crypto and what's happening.
That sounds great. I appreciate having you here. I always do. Everybody, make sure you head on over to Crypto Jar's channel. Again, is a link to that is in the description below. Make sure you give him a follow. Nothing but great information coming out of there. So
awesome. Thank you very much, Keith. Appreciate it.
Hey, talk to you. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Now you're stuck with me. Anyway, well, the irony is we've gone over a lot of, actually touched on literally everything I wanted to touch on in this stream. The one other thing I'm thinking we're going to do right now, because I'm looking, I don't see any comments in the live stream, in the chat itself, live chat. So if you are hanging out there, jump in, ask a question, comment, whatever. throw it in the live chat and we'll get it up here. But I think what we're going to do right now is take a quick look at the markets. Excuse me. Before we go anywhere here, we're already about 35 minutes in, but we're going to take a quick look at the markets before we go anywhere. So I'll bring that up. CoinGecko here. Let me refresh the page and get the latest. So where we've been holding, Bitcoin has been holding. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to make this full screen here so you can see that. There we go. Bitcoin's been holding in that $27,000 range, which is great, I guess. I mean, I'd rather it in that 27,000 range versus down in the 25s. Again, personally, I still think there's a bit of weakness in the market, and I think we may still see a bit of downside before we see the move upward. Again, that's just my opinion, not financial advice, not a financial advisor, old guy here on the YouTube. All right, Ethereum still pretty solid in that $1,600 range. BNB holding pretty steady near that 215 mark. XRP just above 50 cents, which is good. Up almost 7% in the past week. Cardano, you know, favorite of this channel, Cardano still up almost 2.5% in the last week and holding pretty steady in that 25-cent range. So I'll take it. I will take it. We got Litecoin, again, pretty much holding around that $65 mark, although it looks like it did take a little bit of a dip over the last day here. Let's see. Chainlink running good. Again, Chainlink is one of those projects that I think is definitely going to be a project that needs to be looked into. Let's take a quick look at AVAX, holding steady right around that $9 mark. And one more. Let's take a look at Monero right here. Kind of coming back up. Monero took a bit of a hit over the last month, but coming back up to around 148 bucks USD. All right. So there we are. That's kind of where we're at with regard to the markets. Gave you my 2 cents. And again, thank you to Crypto Jar for joining us today here earlier to discuss the legislation moving through the House Financial Services Committee. I will keep you up to speed with regard to that. But again, remember, it's like anything else. Right now, this markup that's going on in the House Financial Services Committee is meant to basically, again, start to really lay out the language of the legislation that will eventually move its way onto the main floor of the House. So this is the, dot the I's, cross the T's. So there's still a lot of work to go with regard to that and moving this legislation out of the committee and make some use out of it with regard to CBDCs. And again, excuse me, remember, this isn't just, none of it eliminates the CBDC. And frankly, I'm not gonna lie, that kind of concerns me a little bit with regard to, I mean, hello, this is the United States of America. Since when do you control people via the money? I don't know. What do I know? But it's something that if you're here, I know we have people outside of the United States watching the stream right now. If you're here in the United States, you need to contact your congressmen and your senators and let them know what you think about pending cryptocurrency legislation, and in particular, in this case, CBDC legislation that's going through Congress. This is something that needs to truly be wrangled in and brought down so it is not going to be able to be used against people. Now, again, if you're new here, you're not sure what a central bank digital currency is, link in the description below. Head on over to CryptoCoinMindSet. And I basically have broken it down so it tells you everything about what a CBDC is, the different types of CBDCs. Right now, we're seeing CBDCs in use in a wholesale setting with regard to the FedNow program. They deny that this is the precursor to retail CBDCs. Frankly, I don't believe that, but whatever. And I also, in the links in the description below, I give you different articles breaking down a CBDC versus a cryptocurrency, because though they tout them as being similar, and I guess in theory they are definitely diametrically opposed and different. So you should get a better understanding. Basically, the biggest difference is a CBDC, central control ledger. Cryptocurrency, decentralized ledger. So nobody's controlling it. Those are the biggest differences with regard to crypto versus CBDC. And then I did a comparison of a CBDC versus cash, so versus an actual physical US dollar, and the differences and the pros and cons of each of those. And we're seeing, again, like I mentioned earlier, with regard to Citibank being tokenizing customer deposits, they're basically buying into that whole wholesale CBDC. So if you want to make a transfer, you can now use the FedNow system to be able to make it an instant transfer. So watch for more of that coming up. We'll keep you up to date as that happens. We're almost 45 minutes in, and frankly, I appreciate you being here, but we're going to take a wrap up on this, I think, unless there's comments in the live chat. Let me look real quick. No questions or comments, no new questions or comments in the live chat. So I guess that's what we're going to do. I appreciate you being here. Definitely every Monday, Wednesday, 10 a.m. Don't forget, live here. On Friday, join me this Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time for Crypto on the Rocks. You get to be the guy or gal who's controlling the show. So you jump on, we talk crypto, bring your favorite beverage. Honestly, for me, like I told you, I don't know. This week might be, I came across that A&W root beer, so we'll have to see what that is. If that's what I end up doing this week. I don't know. Maybe I'll start with that, and then we'll get into something with a little more kick to it. But this Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, jump on. Crypto on the Rocks. I'm expecting that I'm going to have Tiny Crypto Blog with me. So hopefully he will definitely be here with me, as well as Philip joining me again. So the more the merrier. Come on, join us, have a drink, have a laugh, and let's talk crypto, because honestly, I could just sit back and keep talking crypto all day. I appreciate you being here, though. We're going to wrap it up. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. Appreciate it. All right. You have a great day, and I will see you on Friday.